What's going on, crypto warriors? This is another tutorial from KRB Digital Assets Group, where we will be discussing the cryptos to watch analysis. And what this tutorial will basically do is show all 16 cryptocurrencies that we've listed in our 4 newsletters and describe how you can actually trade these coins as well as other coins using the same strategies that we show here. Couple of things that we want to show in this is to make sure that you don't overtrade. Although we do have over 16 coins in the newsletter, you want to find the best 5 or 10, focus on those projects, see what works for you. And also, depending on how much money you're dealing with, some people may want smaller coins, bigger coins, things of that nature, but just make sure you don't overtrade and try and catch every single trend. That's how you get caught holding bags. Also, make sure you take profits. One of the things we do is actually show targets whenever we say to take trades. So if you want to follow those targets or if you want to hold long term, make sure you have a plan for that in place. Also, you want to determine your targets before making the trade so that you won't get caught holding a bag of whatever coin and don't actually have the chance to sell it, except for 6 months to a year later, depending on your time frame. So those are the first 3 things you want to realize once we jump into this tutorial. So let's jump right in. One coin that was on the most recent newsletter is InvestFeed, IFT, and CoinStats here will show you a quick rundown. It's about 3 cents right now at around 559 Satoshis as I'm doing this tutorial. These are the exchanges you can find it on, and this is the supply. Currently, from a technical analysis standpoint, the price is near support, and this is the only coin we'll do this for, but I can't actually chart it on TradingView. But as you can see here, from a price standpoint, when it first hit exchanges, you have a Satoshi price that is around the 500s here, and right now you have that same Satoshi price as well. And before I go forward, let me explain for those of you who don't know Satoshi price. Basically, if you just count from the right, 1, 2, 3, 585 Satoshis, or if it's another 0, 5,000 Satoshis, or 50,000 Satoshis, and then after that, you would just name it by the decimal point, 0.005 Bitcoin. So you'll hear me refer to Satoshis throughout the tutorial. That's what that means. So at 585 Satoshis, which is the Bitcoin price right now, because remember, you're trading altcoins to gain more Bitcoin. So you should be looking at this price as well as the USD price to see your overall profit, but this is what you want to focus on mainly. So now that you see that price is down here near support where we've seen it test before, this is, from a technical analysis standpoint, a good place from a risk reward ratio standpoint as well to actually buy InvestFeed. It's a utility token on a new website. Obviously, new investors creates more demand. So on coins, on Cryptopia, coins like InvestFeed tend to have a lot of growth just based off the psychology behind it. Low price, pretty low supply, actual use case. Boom, you have a 10 or 20x type coin here with InvestFeed. So moving forward, Power Ledger. One of my favorite coins this year, sitting at about 31 cents right now. It is listed on Binance, Bittrex, Huobi. Pretty low supply, but from a fundamental standpoint, Power Ledger is entering a large international market with electricity and actually having green power. Actual utility tokens for the future are hard to come by, so Power is actually one of the ones out there to look for. Looking at the chart though, one of the things I do when I look at my charts, and we'll go through all of those together, with altcoins is very simple. If you're not doing margin trading, one of the biggest things you want to remember, one is the trend is your friend. Right now we're in the down market, so trading altcoins right now has been very scarce except for a few bounces here and there. But you don't want to overtrade like I stated before. And if you're not margin trading, which most viewers are not, you want to make sure that you follow the trend. The trend is your friend. So if you remember that, you can remember drawing your Fibonacci lines here, which is a way to measure the levels of support and resistance that you can have with different trading. So here, as you can see, we're in a down market. So if you draw your fib from the high point down to the low point, you can see this level here where we've had a test at this support, as well as a test of resistance getting pushed back down. Same thing at this level, we see it breach support, return, and then we see it come back and breach all the way down. So one of the things with Fibonacci's sequence with altcoins is it's pretty accurate, especially for coins that have, you know, a pretty fair amount of volume, but not a whole lot. You can pretty much predict exactly what's going to happen because it's not that many traders trading it. So Fibonacci usually works out. But with power, one of the things we want to look for is that it is bouncing right here off support, which is pretty low. With most altcoins, you'll see it's bouncing right above support in this area. One of the things I use are Bollinger Bands here to find the up and down levels of where it'll be at. So as you can see, that Bollinger Band kind of had confluence with this level, and as you can see, as it's bouncing up, this is the next level it's looking to take out that 5,700 range. However, this is probably the best support level in this area here. So if you're looking to trade for long term right now, this area on the daily is looking good. And honestly, if you are looking at it from a long-term standpoint, buying at this level a year from now, I'm pretty sure you'll be happy with your purchase or your investment, because the potential for this coin is much higher than 31 cent where it's sitting at now. So risk reward is very favorable, very low point, and like I said before, I believe the altcoin market is starting to gain its legs here in the next couple weeks leading up to May. So going on to ontology, let's take a look at this chart here. And most of the charts I use are daily, simply because I'm more of a long-term trader, an investor. Find a good entry price, find a good target, and wait for it. And one of the best parts about that is that with coins that aren't that established, you get to see the growth long-term. However, from a negative standpoint, you don't have as much data to deal with. So with these Fibonacci levels, I actually moved down to the 4-hour level with ontology. And if you take a look back at the coin stats, 467 right now. You can actually get on Binance. From a TA standpoint, volume increasing with the price, and the support zones at that 45K and 35K Satoshi level. And from a fundamental standpoint, they'll actually be at the NEO Amsterdam Summit, which is highly anticipated as one of the only dApps on the NEO platform. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about. This support zone 35K, where we've seen resistance before, as well as we've seen it pass through that resistance. Like I said, it's very early in the game for this coin, so it's not as much data to deal with. However, we have seen in the last couple of days a large increase. Let's see, from this level, in about the last 10 days, last week or so, we've seen a price increase that's been pretty significant. And in my opinion, there is no reason for this to actually stop, because from a speculation standpoint, ontology is actually one of the only apps on NEO. So they believe if it performs sort of like some of the other dApps that were on Ethereum, then from a speculative standpoint, you see a lot of buyers. But very early in the game there. As you can see, volume-wise with these coins, you want to look for it to be above the moving average, which we've seen consistently this past week. And also it is trading above that 50 RSI level. So I actually like buying coins at around this level. When you see it actually break through a couple fib lines, and then you see a retrace, this would have been a good entry point. If you've never even heard of it, it would have been a good entry point. But now that you have, you can see that good entry points are at these fib levels here. So that is ontology. And like I said, I'm showing as basic as possible TA and fundamental analysis without too many lines and charts to show you with altcoins. It is pretty simple to trade these coins. You just got to have good entry points and make sure you have exits. So VeChain, which like we state in the newsletter, is a blockchain project that will deal with supply chain management, which from a fundamental standpoint is a case for long term. From a TA standpoint, it actually broke previous resistance and the daily volume is increasing. So let's take a look here now at this hand here. Taking a look at it before, I actually drew this short-term support zone where we've seen it bounce. And like I said, with most altcoins, usually the confluence with fib lines is perfect. As you can see here, we've had a bounce in this zone 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Then we actually had a test of this level before we actually broke through that level. But as we can see here, we've seen it bounce a couple times. We've seen the volume actually increasing. Right now it's decreasing as the price goes up, so we may see a retest again. However, in my opinion, the alt market usually rises at the same time, so we may be looking at a a retest, but an actual breakout here, because even though I don't like diagonal lines that much, you can see an obvious pennant forming, and that will actually be a breakout zone to look for in the near future. So ontology or VeChain, sorry, at this level is actually not bad to trade from a risk reward ratio as well. So moving forward, basic attention token. From a fundamental standpoint, we love it. It's the Brave token for YouTube influencers. We may start using it ourselves. You can use it for browser payments. Very cheap right now. Pretty large supply. However, with it at this price and with this fundamental analysis, I do believe the Brave attention token or basic attention token will get more use in the coming months. From a TA standpoint, let's look at it here. Like I said, with most altcoins, it's very simple because you can literally use Fibonacci levels to predict the price, because they're pretty accurate with these coins because they're fairly new. And I use the daily just to get a good view of what's going on here. Right now, we have seen a little bit of volume coming in lately, but it has been rejected at this fib level, where we've seen the same rejections here, but also active support. So pretty solid place to say resistance is at this level. If we break through though, we could see a break up to this level here where we've had previous resistance as well at that 0.5 fib level. We are rising past the 50 RSI level, which is good. However, you don't want to get too excited because you want that volume to come in order to support the price. And like I said, with most altcoins, it is at a level where if it does bounce off, after it has bounced off support, the volume will determine whether or not this is actually a reverse in the downtrend for altcoins, because we have seen a large, loss for a lot of people, because, over time, in the altcoin market, most people, they get scared out. Like I said, this has lost, 68% of its value. People sell, make their quick buck, and then get out. You know what I mean? So not surprised there. But on the return of that trend, you want to be in place going forwards, and that's what we're here for at KRBE. So so we'll look at the next one, Binance, another one of my favorites. Price increase right now, plus volume decrease. I believe the price will drop a bit at this point. We can take a look at this support zone, but before we do, fundamental analysis, useful product for a great company. You receive fees for trading. You can actually pay your trading fees with Binance. So if we look at the price here, we have seen in the recent days a huge green candle here, followed by a short retrace and a couple more green candles to break through these fib levels as well. Fairly new coin, like I stated before, using the daily. I like to use it because it gives you a broader view. However, right here, for example, if we breach this this all-time high, which I don't think we will, if we breach this all-time high, you'll be redrawing the chart because it'll basically be brand new. So that's one thing about newer coins. However, it is actually bouncing off this line in confluence with the Bollinger Band. Once it hits that top, it's already hit it 1, 2, 3 times, sort of 1, 2, and 3 times, and you saw that downward trend. So I believe we'll see that downtrend, and if this bottom Bollinger Band is actually in confluence with either of these fib levels, that's where I would look to get in. The 11.9 level is looking like pretty good support right now. However, we could go a little bit lower into this 10-3 level right here, simply because we have a good amount of buying action and accumulation at this level as well. So don't want to make the levels too large. However, from a daily standpoint, you want to make sure with altcoins you are getting in at a good entry zone. So you don't want to chase any pumps. Like right here, you have some people like, well, it's going up, so let's buy more. But that's actually the opposite of what you should do. You should be looking for the next level for it to retrace and then buy with Binance. So that is what we're looking at, what I'm looking at with Binance right now. So KuCoin shares very similar in its utility. It's foreign exchange. One thing about KuCoin is the volume is pretty low. So if that volume increases the way even close to what Binance did, we could see something similar. And as we see with this price is $12 almost, and here we have $2.50. So we're looking at something that could be worth 3 or 4 more times its worth if it grows similar to Binance, and if people want to use KuCoin shares. So let's take a look at the chart here, which I'm sorry we can't on this. Let's see. However, since we can't use it on TradingView, we'll look at it on CoinMarketCap. And one of the things I look at, like I said, long-term with coins, is buying at a good entry price. So if you see a level where it's breached and it's returned to that level, usually you can look at that as a pretty solid support. Same thing here. I would look at that as a solid support going forward. So anywhere between those levels, actually an accumulation period we've seen for a long time here, for about a month or so. And actually, as it's curling up, that is a sign that it's a good entry point to get in, because it's found support. And going forward, if you use, like I said, from a fundamental standpoint, the fundamentals of it, low supply and actual similar to Binance in its use case, where it lists smaller coins that may not get as much light shined on them. However, people want to trade them, so that's why Binance became popular, and KuCoin seems to be pretty popular or pretty similar as well. So that is why we actually listed KuCoin shares in that newsletter, and why we're showing it here today. So going forward, Zcoin, another coin that is part of the privacy investment basket, so to say. If we take a look from a TA standpoint, like I said before, the fib zones for the daily during this downtrend actually shows a good amount of accumulation in here, or capitulation, and then we see the down spike here. And right now, the reason I'm excited about it is, for one, low supply. From a psychology standpoint, a lot of traders look for low supply coins when they're looking to buy during what is referred to as alt season, because unfortunately most alts are tied to the growth of Bitcoin and of course exchanges who support them. So once that season, so to say, starts, the coins that usually pump in price and actually have good growth have a low supply. Also, from a support standpoint, it is sitting at a pretty good support right now. From a daily standpoint, you see it curling up, RSI actually coming, but it's right above the local support right now of the 35.8 K Satoshis, or 0.00358 Bitcoin. So not very far off support. Like most coins, it's sitting right on top of support. So from a buyer standpoint, this is a good zone to get in if you're looking long term, like I am. So with that being said, let's move forward. Ubik actually had a nice little pump today in price. From a fundamental analysis standpoint, they have an airdrop for a coin, Escher, April 25th. So for every Ubik that you have, you receive 12 Escher coins. So that is kind of raising the demand to get Ubik now before the Escher airdrop. And as well, there's a pretty low supply. 40 million is pretty low for a dApps platform. So Ubik is something that we're definitely looking at throughout this year. And from a technical analysis standpoint, we've seen good amount of support here, here as well, and we're back at those levels. Recently, actually yesterday, we saw a huge spike in volume, where I believe a lot of people saw that where that supply or where that support was, and they were starting to buy and overtook a lot of the sellers. You had that huge spike, but you also had to push back down where we've had resistance levels as well. So um, sort of, telling the story of what Ubik is looking to do. You can see a lot of people are anxious for it to actually, bust out in price. It is pretty low right now, but it is still getting pushed back down by that level currently. And at that 23.4K sats level, which around here where it got pushed to, like I said, using bands, got pushed outside of it here, so we may see a return to it in here. It's still at that support level, but I don't think it'll bounce too much lower simply because of the fundamentals as well as the technical analysis I just showed you as far as the price increase and volume increase as well. So moving forward, and remember all of these price points that we've said in fib levels, make sure you use it as a guide to supplement your own research. These are not exact price points to get in at because, like I said, this market right now is pretty volatile. I have started some buying on my own personally, but in your own research, you may see that you want to actually wait and see until we have a confirmed reversal. I'm more of an accumulation person and then wait for the price increase later. So different trading styles. That's why I'm trying to make sure I cover all facets of it as well. So Icon, another coin that I believe can have some good success. Don't bet against Korea. It's definitely in the Korean market. Has some partnerships with Aeon and Won, one of which Aeon will discuss in this video. Won, which will most likely be in our next newsletter as well. Definitely a coin I'm looking at, but we can't put them all out at once. From a technical analysis standpoint, let's look at Icon here. From the daily standpoint and the downtrend, of course, we did see a quick breakout last month, sorry, with some good news, I believe. If you look at the 4-hour here, we can actually see how the price is actually curling up. We have seen a little bit of recent activity volume-wise above the moving average, but barely. It may test this level again. However, I'm actually thinking it will actually curl up from this level, good actual support level. As you can see here, you had an actual test here before, retest at support, and we've had that level here going, and we have it here as well. So actually pretty good level to buy in at for Icon. And as far as the price point going forward, it's a very new coin. It's still price discovery. So as a target, I would, take some profit off the table whenever this price increases, but I would let a good amount run just to see where it goes, because these are some of the coins that can go 10 to 20x. And as we, move along through the month, we'll do more technical analysis to show what we mean by that. So that is ICX. And moving forward to Monero, my absolute favorite coin outside of Bitcoin, simply because it's a great community, very decentralized. They actually fork to avoid ASICs to be more decentralized. And from a TA standpoint, it's one of the only coins that has had higher lows throughout its entire history, pretty much. If you look at it from the daily standpoint and actually look at these levels from the low from almost 2 years ago, it's basically it keeps hitting higher lows here, 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 here. And right now it's kind of in confluence with this Fibonacci level, which gives me hope from a historical standpoint, because Monero is one of the coins that actually has a use case that could be affected by what people consider illicit or criminal activity. It's used by a lot of people because it is the only completely private coin that's been found. Other privacy coins are close, but they still have their own problems to work out. And I'll get that straight there. And with Monero, with their dev team, and with the amount of work they put in, I actually like it as a project. From a TA standpoint, It is decreasing in volume, very low in volume right now. May see a drop here to this level. I will put some buys in at this fib level here, right in this area, simply because it's where we see the most uh, support and resistance activity. Most buyers in this level here, so 16 and 9. If we don't see a drop into that area, you will want to wait for a retrace to jump back into the Monero market. However, as a believer in accumulation, I believe that you can buy really at that support price and just accumulate as much as possible. And going forward, Monero will be, I believe, $1,000 coin by the end of this year. So Monero is one of those coins I'm actually looking at, long term. But for people who trade, 3 months to 6 months or up to a year, it's still a good coin to get if you want something. If you want a coin that's almost, nothing's guaranteed, but if you want a coin that's almost guaranteed to continue its rise because the demand is there and the community is just as strong as any other community outside of Bitcoin, then this is why Monero is actually good for you. So that is my take on Monero. Let's move on to Ion. Ion currently 208. You can find it on Binance. Pretty low supply, 115 circulating coins. Like most altcoins, like we've said before, they're all pretty much bouncing above their support, either through fib or through the price action that you can see. Like I've stated before, drawing fibs at the last lowest price is actually fairly easy because most people who trade, like I said, they use the fibs in order to actually plot out where they'll put their buys and sells. So as you can see here, see that resistance or support actually, go through, actually go back through, retest and go through, retest again, retest again, retest again, and none of those times actually broke through that resistance. So actually, as we see it curling here, curling up, with the price increase, looking for an increase in volume as we've seen a little bit more lately. This is why I'm actually pretty bullish on Ion, is because of the partnerships too, with Icon and with Juan. I mean, you have no choice usually with these Korean cryptocurrencies but to win, because I wouldn't bet against any Asian market. They are, more adamant about cryptocurrency than Americans are or Europeans. So don't bet against any Asian markets right now. Aeon as well as ICX, and like I said, Juan we'll later look at. That these are the reasons why I would definitely look at these cryptos to watch. Good old Litecoin. Litecoin is old faithful, been around a long time. Right now it's at $114, about 0.0167 Bitcoin. From a fundamental standpoint, very large community, atomic swap and lightning capability. It has LightPay troubles, which somebody started LightPay in order to try and copy the BitPay standard. However, there was some money problems, maybe a few accusations of some scams going on in there, but just didn't work out. So we have seen the price take a hit since then. I'm not gonna lie to you, Litecoin looks pretty ugly right now. Would not buy this right now at all. From a support and resistance standpoint, like I said before, we've seen it touch this support 3 times at this fib level. I believe right now we'll wait to see what the volume does, but I believe it will make it down to that level at least. Not really looking to enter this market until we see more more steady shakeout. In my opinion, the best level right now, best thing to do right now with Litecoin is to wait out this market as it kind of takes its descent. Looks like it's a sell-off here at this level. And once that sell-off is coming, like I said, you can set your orders here at this 13.8 level. And for instance, with a coin like this, where long-term I know I own Litecoin, but I want to actually know when I should buy back in. One of the things I do, like a lot of people do, set an alarm. If you want to actually get some sleep, one of the things I do, like you see here with Litecoin, when it crosses down, let's say if it crosses down past the 16738 level, and let's see, we'll just put it through May just for now. If it does that, then I'll get an alert. And let's say, for instance, if I put it at the 141.5 level, same thing. It'll send me an alert. So if it sends me that alert, to me, that'll be a chance for me to think to myself, well, it broke past that support. It's probably going down further. I'll wait it out to try and find a good bounce. As I'm looking at charts, if I see it actually reverse at this level after getting that notification, then I may take a position as well. But like I said, I'm more of a long-term investor. Buy it at a good entry price, hold it. So I would probably wait longer to see where that support ends up at. But right now, Litecoin looks kind of nasty. However, from a fundamental standpoint, it's been around, it has a strong community. I believe Litecoin will be more of a cash-based system than Bitcoin right now. I don't know about long-term because of the Lightning Network, but we'll see. In my opinion, Litecoin will be more of a cash-based use case than Bitcoin going forward. So that is where the demand comes from. And once we see how this price shakes out to get a good entry price to get into Litecoin, we'll definitely do more TA on that as well. So Neo. Neo is another one that looks pretty nasty, or looked pretty nasty before. We actually wrote about it pretty early in the in the first newsletter. We had a few people message us about when to buy, or is it a good time to buy. We were telling people no, right at this level. We were literally having people ask us, should we buy right here? And we were telling people absolutely not. Wait to wait to see the price movement down, and for a correction at that 0.5 fib level is exact words I use. Right now, as you can see, as you've seen before, you've seen resistance, breakthrough, retest, breakthrough again, retest, breakthrough, come down, retest, and right now break through that 0.5 level again. So right now, this is looking like a pretty good support area. I do want to see a little bit more from a volume standpoint. Pretty paltry volume here. However, RSI is curling up above that 50 mark, and we'll see what it does. If it can actually break through at this price level where we have a good amount of price action, then we'll see if it can break past that all-time high. So Neo, from a fundamental standpoint, I love it because it's for one, any platform where you can build decentralized apps is great to me, because the more you have, the more development you have, and the more different ways you have to create what I believe is the future. We have apps right now, but they are centralized. Once they're decentralized, anybody can run it, anybody can program it. These platforms will be worth a lot of money going forward. But month-long downtrend, it bounced at fib, and it's looking like it's forming support. So buying in at Neo at this level would not be bad. However, like I said, I'm more of a patient man. I like to see actual change in direction, so I can buy it as it's going up and not try and catch knives with the bottoms here. So moving forward, Zcash, another privacy coin that, they've had a couple of their own problems with. People saying it's not completely private, there may be a backdoor. However, with the privacy market being strong community, as well as, reports, they've used it for countries such as Venezuela, for people who couldn't use Bitcoin. Things like that make me pretty bullish on Zcash. Also, very low supply, only 3.6 million coins. Like I said, psychology-wise, you want to remember people who look at coins when they're doing their research, look at smaller supplies as a place to buy, because demand will grow and outdo that price. So let's take a look at Zcash currently in the downtrend. Draw that fib, very easy. As you can see, like I said, breakthrough, cross back up, breakthrough again, cross back up, breakthrough, test, another test here. Barely broke through, but strong red candle down. And like I said, with Zcash, it's actually at a level from a support standpoint, pretty solid support. If we look at it from here, same thing, broke up through there, retest, and like I said, we've had that test there before, retest here. So this zone here is looking like this price zone here is looking like the best spot to buy Zcash going forward. And if you get in at this price long term, I don't like to guarantee anything, but as a privacy coin, Zcash is very popular. I will say that. And if we breach these levels this year, Zcash could be another $1,000 coin, sort of like Monero, simply because of the use case as well as the ability to even get it. There's less and less exchanges that are making it available to get privacy coins. So once it's almost impossible to get it, or if it's harder to get it with a low supply, that would definitely increase the value of it. So that is Zcash right now in a nutshell, what I'm looking at. And thanks for watching. Feel free to ask any questions about this tutorial on the members portal. Currently, right now, our analysts are posting their views on Bitcoin and margin trading. And this one is on the altcoins that we viewed on cryptos to watch in the newsletter. If you have any other cryptos you would like charted and explain what we're thinking about with different altcoins, let us know, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Have a good one.